There are a lot of interesting things about and around the Kansas City Chiefs right now. We're going to get to most of them. But right off the top here today, for two reasons, I actually wanted to make sure you're all aware of something that's going on with the Cincinnati Bengals. Yesterday, this tweet from Kelsey Conway went around as Jamar Chase was walking down the Bengals practice facility. And Kelsey Conway tweeted, Jamar Chase just got to practice 13 minutes after it started in street clothes. And I just think that's an incredible vibe. Although I got a follow-up reply from Seamus Levin on Twitter. It said, some might say that's the only Weird Games vibe. And at that point, a lot of things came together. So welcome to Only Weird Games, where we're always at least 13 minutes late, and at least Nate and I are usually in street clothes.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Seth Keysor's got a tie, and we're all here to talk about what happened at the bottom of the practice squad, a little move that is going to have serious ramifications for this offense and a whole lot more. Fellas, do you feel like you would have gotten claimed off waivers? I mean, so far we've got mostly good news. Honestly, you know what? Nate, I feel like actually it would be foolish of me not to let you process some emotions here right at the top.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially Baltimore Ravens week, starting today. And I am, if you haven't seen it yet, I am sad to report that we lost him. We lost him. Rees-Zammit, based on what Brett Veach, the general manager of the Chiefs, told us today, had the opportunity to come back to the practice squad. And Rees-Zammit not only changed teams by going to the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad, he changed numbers, mostly because he was forced to by Juju Smith-Schuster's arrival, and also he changed positions.
Yeah.
He is technically now a wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I've never been more shell-shocked by a relationship that I thought was blossoming, hell, thriving to some degree. I just think sometimes people want things to move too fast. Whether it's me, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs with Lewis, and I guess you could say the grass technically is greener in Florida.
True.
But I appreciate, life brings life's all about timing, kids. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I was never on a higher high than having won the hot dog derby a couple weeks ago. And I've never been in more need of your support, both psychologically, emotionally, obviously social media wise as well, because I just thank you for having me in your prayers. Thank you for keeping
T's and
me
P's coming from all angles right now.
Yeah, I mean, yes, as Jacob said 9 hours ago, Father God, we lift our brother Nate Taylor up in prayer today, because I'm never going to see that. I'm never going to see that man again.
Comment from Splatical here as we go live. This has been a roller coaster week for Nate. Nate, you know who loved roller coasters when he went to Worlds of Fun? Everywhere. I can't look around and not see his perfect face.
I will help.
It is chiseled bone.
You know what helps sadness?
Face. Yeah. What is that?
What helps sadness? There's two ways to deal with sadness, ladies and gentlemen: compartmentalization and anger. So, this is not terrific advice, but people often ask me, Seth, how have you worked in a field like child protection for so many years? Compartmentalization and anger. Way easier than sadness. Why be sad when you can be angry? So, Nate, I'm going to help you out right now. You know why? You know why LRZ isn't on the Chiefs roster anymore? Because they watched him play football.
So
Oh
on
no,
that
he got
note,
sadder. No, Nate, don't get
on
sadder.
that note, I'm going to read some things that Brett Veach said today. And I
You
think
got
that we've done a great thing by accidentally making the welcome the LRZ segment, and we will spend most of this show talking about Samaje Perine. But Nate said it sounded like Nate maybe had an interpretation from Brett Veach today that wasn't exactly my interpretation. And I'm just going to read you what he said when Jesse Newell of the Kansas City Star asked him. Obviously, Nate was still sobbing. It would have been very unprofessional for Nate to have asked this question. Jesse asked, did you try to get Lewis back, or did you encourage him to maybe look at some other opportunities? Brett Veach said, quote, "We kept it open. We wanted the kid to really look at maybe some different opportunities as well." And then he paused for a while. His mouth made several movements, but no words came out. And then he said, "Pretty remarkable when you think about a player that doesn't have any pro-American football experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera."
Yes.
I have written about this at great length at chiefsonsi.com. You can read every word Brett Veach said about Rees-Zammit up there. He said some nice things. He also said, "I think for him, it'll just be finding out that exact position. Running back, maybe a big slot receiver. I think he does have some potential as a returner. I'm not so sure he couldn't be a kicker."
Has he considered rugby? This is the only way I know how to cope when people are sad, Nate.
Veach continued, "I think the Jacksonville thing and their relationship overseas and what that brings to the table, going overseas twice a year, I think that was probably something that interested him. Phenomenal kid, phenomenal worker. So sexy." Whoops, sorry, hold on. I added a few words. Et cetera, et cetera. And I think he found a really good spot there in Jacksonville. Nate, you mentioned this off air. We were texting about it yesterday. And I went and found it was in his mini camp press conference that he talked about his family's yearly vacation was always to Florida. They do play 2 games back to back in the UK this year. Yes, Seth, you and Rees-Zammit now have 2 things in common.
Yep.
And I can't remember what the first one was.
Oh, we know.
Neither one of you made the Chiefs. So to me, and Chu Godric is still the international player pathway designee. And I'm still fuzzy on how some of those rules can work. The Jags had a different player, but he was injured, put on IR, and so now Lewis is their 17th player. I think the Chiefs could have chosen to keep Lewis over Godric, and they certainly could have chosen him over any of the other 16 guys that did make the practice squad. It seemed to me like they probably decided that the likes of Montrell Washington and Nico Remigio and Justin Ross and Keontae Ingram and Amani Bailey were all more valuable right now than Rees-Zammit was going to be. It makes me deeply sad, but that was my read on it. What else? Anything else from Veach's comments there, Nate, after you were able to collect yourself?
Yeah, after I picked my emotional scars up from the floor, in reality, ladies and gentlemen, they chose to continue to develop Godric over Lewis. That is that is what this ultimately came down to, because by being the international pathway player on the practice squad, you are essentially protected for the entire season. Now, there are some mechanisms involved, but had Lewis been a normal practice squad member, obviously he could be cut or waived at any point during the regular season for another player, or he could technically, although I think this was highly unlikely, but I don't know, maybe this proves it to some degree, get poached by another team, but then he would have had to have been added to the 53-man roster, which again was highly unlikely, but another team like the Jacksonville Jaguars for its international flair, and because, I'm not saying, you know what, I'm going to say it, guys. He left us. He left me. He left us. Okay? We were building a family here in Kansas City, and he left for that smooth-talking con artist known as the Jacksonville Jaguars, who just showed him sunny skies, perfect women in a pool in the stadium, and the ability to go to Europe.
Forgot about that.
for a month and more direct flights from Wales. I mean, sure, whatever. I mean,
the only
I'm not
thing I would
upset.
add, the only thing I would add, Nate, and this isn't going to make you happier, it's not going to make it feel any less painful, but he literally has spent more time in St. Joseph, Missouri than Kansas City, Missouri, and Doug Peterson knows that. Doug Peterson knows what training camp he just went through, and he went, hey, man, look, Jacksonville's not Miami and it's not Orlando, but it's a whole lot damn closer than St. Joseph, Missouri, and St. Joe to Kansas City is a little bit of a trek, as you just witnessed. I get it. I accept it. I accept
Also-
I accept that this was a mutual breakup, a mutual parting of ways. I'm
Sure.
on
It was
I'm on the
mutual.
acceptance stage right now. We'll see.
Yeah. Hey, you can get to Tampa in not that long a time, my friend. You know, Sarasota, you ever heard of it? It's pretty nice. You can spend an off day there.
Yeah, lovely barrier reef island called Anna Maria. where some
Seamus
people-
in the comments said, Seth, you gotta either laugh or quit reading the comments. And
Ladies
the
and
bingo
gentlemen-
card later will be very good. Nate,
Ladies and-
dismount. Give us our send off, our loss of a friend, who we will be tracking week in and week out from Jacksonville.
No,
give
I
us
can't.
our way out here. and
I must disconnect from this man.
Oh really?
don't-
Oh, I'm
I
not. I'm not.
I don't-
I'm not
I don't-
unfollowing on Insta. I'm actually gonna make sure
I'm gonna
him now.
unfollow. I can't see what he's doing over there. You know, I saw him in an '84 jersey, and I just had to cleanse myself, knowing that this human being is living a better life, perhaps in Jacksonville than with us.
Oh, he shared the picture of his signing on his Instagram story. So multiple O's. Happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. It's go time.
So look, it was a great summer, but that's what it was. It was a summer fling.
It was a fling.
He signed up in March. We
He's
really
from
got
Wales, you wouldn't know him.
yeah.
That's
We
the running line when people ask about your
yeah, but you know, we got to know each other in March. We really got to, you know, see how things were going in April. By June, I thought we had something special, you know, and you know, that's why artists make an entire album about a summer fling, because you really go up and down the roller coaster. And we wish him well in Jacksonville, but I don't ever want to see that man again in my life because it was too painful.
Man, I'm
Now,
gonna have to take away your phone from you at a certain point in the next few weeks, but I'm ready
Right.
to do that. I can help with this.
well, Seth,
Actually, no, Josh,
as I'm sure that you have told Jazz many times, sometimes the older, past their prime option is actually the thing you should be more excited about compared to that unsubstantial summer fling. And yeah, you and Samaje Perine might be a little bit past their absolute best days, but damn it, that's what love is made of. Samaje Perine is unofficially, because the Chiefs have a hostile relationship with the transaction wire and the media, unofficially, Samaje Perine is a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. There should be a corresponding move to that soon.
You gotta make the, you know, ladies and gentlemen, love is about work. You have to work to make the relationship work. And Samaje Perine, he's been through the sessions. He's talked to the counselors. He's read the books, and he's ready to suit up again for again, as Josh calls it, substantial love in the warm embrace of a Kansas City Chiefs uniform.
It really, honestly, especially for a move at the end of August with training camp come and gone, we've been talking about this role since like March, and we finally have a resolution that I think all three of us are pretty jazzed about. You've already written about it in the Chief from the North newsletter, Seth. Tell us why it's good to be in love.
Real love.
Yeah. No, real love that you know, is long lasting and knows to keep its pad level down when it's running. That's real love. Look, I wish the kid nothing but the best. He's a great athlete who's gonna have a great shot at making a roster. So I'm just being a hater.
Is he?
I'm just being a hater, and I'm kind of enjoying it. I don't know. I think I might have a knack for it. I feel like I've cultivated this nice guy thing for a long time. And it's like,
Yeah.
I wonder if I wouldn't be a lot better. And any listener who's wondering, Josh can testify that I am actually much better at being petty and a hater than I am at anything else.
And I think it's
So-
great that you have stretched your caricature of yourself in that direction, where you do obviously hate Louis Rees-Zammit and Charles Minahu and the troops. Go ahead.
I'm searching for a real love. Yeah.
All right, I'm switching over. I'm switching over from the comments to the private chat
like Jared
because-
McKinnon.
because of Claude literally types out all caps, read my comments, Seth, and like a bass hitting that surface, just glommed onto it. So, Perine, I was excited. Shout out to the NFL for NFL Pro being so much better than All 22 has been for years. I can now look up a player, and every snap that he's on the field just gets laid out. They should really put like a skip forward button in there to where once you're done watching the play, you can skip to the next one rather than having to go down selected. But hey, minor details. So I was able to watch a couple hundred of his snaps from last year in a pretty efficient amount of time. I'll start with the exciting thing, and then I'll back my way into it. I think Perine is an upgrade over Jerick McKinnon last year. And the reason, so Jerick McKinnon, two-time Super Bowl champion Jerick McKinnon, Chiefs legend.
And one of the craziest years a running back has ever had in 2022. Not best ever, but craziest ever. It was 9 receiving touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, just
7
bizarre year.
Yeah.
And who played an invaluable role down the stretch the last couple of years. Deeply appreciate him. He lost his burst last year. We all saw it. It's like, okay, that man, his nickname is Jet. And like they could have changed his.
It was more of a Boeing last year.
Not a Boeing. I was gonna say like a.
He lost some parts. He got hurt.
Puddle
He
jumper
missed some
or
time.
something. Not a Boeing.
A
Good
cruise
God.
ship. A cruise ship
Yeah.
trying to turn.
He's more like a boy. Boom! You go down. Because they kill people. Anyway, so here's the thing with Perine. If you want a guy who's 27, about to turn 28, he's been around the league. The really interesting thing is watching him last year in Sean Payton's offense, the first time, by far the best designed offense he's ever been a part of, and the one that most involves a running back with his particular skill set. Now, Sean Payton's offense and Andy Reid's offense, very, very different things. One thing they have in common, though, is certain aspects of running back usage. They both utilize their running backs on third down and with some of the screen stuff they do and some of the play action stuff they do in some fairly similar ways. Because they're both smart offensive coaches. If you just ask Sean Payton, he'll tell you. And so I got a chance to really see kind of how he would fit in with what the Chiefs do, because he had a lot of receiver snaps and a lot of pass pro reps. And I'm excited about both of them. I think he's good, legitimately good at both. He's not an athlete. Like, he's an athlete. Like,
He's
by
no
NFL
Louis Rees-Zammit, Seth Keysor.
He's not as fast as Louis Rees-Zammit. He's like 5'10" and a half, weighs 233 pounds, something like that, about 230, and he's built like it. But he's smooth. He kind of reminds me of the way he moves, especially the way he can catch the ball well in space and immediately transition to gaining yards after the catch. He actually kind of reminds me of Spencer Ware. Kind of that bigger bodied guy that moves, that's not explosive. He's not fast, but he's smooth, and that helps him move a little bit better than you'd think. He can get yards after contact. He's got good bounce through contact. He moves decently in space in the sense of he kind of knows when to cut inside versus kind of tiptoeing up and down the sideline. He is a legitimate asset at receiver. He's got good hands. He catches the vast majority of things that come his way. And if he gets caught and tackled immediately, he catches it. If it's a little bit contested there. If he's got a little space to work with, he is a legitimate threat to shake off that first tackler, provided he has. So often when a check down gets the ball, it's a boom, boom thing, right? You catch, you're immediately tackled, and it's like a 5-yard gain. That's a ton of his catch. And that's one of those things where you've avoided the negative play. Yay. Now it's 2nd and 5. That's not bad. Let's keep moving. But when he catches the ball with just enough time, and because he catches the ball smoothly, he's able to convert into a runner pretty quickly, which is something that's an advantage. Not everyone's a natural catcher of the ball. Like that's just not something everyone looks natural doing. Like Adrian Peterson, one of the greatest runners to ever live, he never looked natural catching the ball, right?
That's a good
took
call.
him yeah, it took him a bit to convert from receiver, catch the ball, yak. Whereas with Perine, it's pretty seamless. When he has that time, he's a legitimate threat to shake that first defender. And when he does that, that's where his big plays come from. It's not him, running a wheel route and outrunning someone, or even him running, a Texas route or an angle route, whatever you want to call it, over the middle of the field, and, leaving the linebacker in the dust like McCaffrey does. That's not his game. That's not who he is. But he might, running just a little, just a little bit into the flat, you give him space, he might just shake loose that linebacker, and now there's no one around for 10 yards. And that's where his bigger plays came from. It's really nice to watch. He is, in my opinion, as a receiving back, he would have been the best one on the roster last year. And Pacheco's made some strides in that area. I think Pacheco is a better runner. He's more explosive. But in terms of looking natural catching the ball, I think Perine looks better at that. He's also more nuanced in terms of getting to the spots. So when he's running a screen, you see him patiently waiting for the right spot. I think Andy's going to love that. He doesn't just sprint his way through it. He hesitates, stays behind the blocker, stays in the spot, and then once he has the ball, explodes up the field. If I were just to, he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. You see a lot of McKinnon in his game as a pass protector too. But I've been talking for a while straight,
yes.
So I'm gonna
let's put a pin in pass protector and stick on pass catcher here. And Nate, you can give us anything on how kind of this all came together. But I did really want to talk about both of those things individually because they are two different skill sets. It's just two skill sets you have to do this job the way that the Chiefs and anybody in the NFL right now would have you do.
Right.
The interesting thing that popped out in the review that you already just explained a lot of how he gets there, Seth, is the amount of time that it feels like he is in space, not creating space necessarily, not necessarily separation, but you go, oh, all right, well, Samaje Perine and his big beard, which is a huge running back aesthetic. Carson Steele and Samaje Perine in the same running back room. Pacheco has a great aesthetic. Clyde has a good aesthetic too, actually. But
they actually that's a great aesthetically pleasing running back room.
Incredible now that I'm thinking about the whole thing. But the number of times, and again, you mentioned this now, it's more in the newsletter, the number of times that he is able to beat the first guy and then there is suddenly no one around him for a 15-yard radius and then he's able to make somebody else miss. That's the part of his game where I do think people might get the wrong idea about how explosive he is because the result is something you usually see from explosive players. For Perine, again, I know you just hit on this, but if you want to dive in more on this, his ability to get to the spots in a zone, to get to where Andy Reid wants him to be, to even convert pass protection into being able to squeak out of the backfield. We'll get back to that too, but I'm really excited about this signing in large part because of those reasons. Is there any other nuances within that you think are impactful to his game?
I think you hit on it in terms of being in the right spot. And it's not just the spot that Reid expects him to be, which is so important, of course, but it's where his quarterback expects him to be. People really underestimate spacing and timing, even on a check down. A check down, by its very nature, is a route where when the ball, if it comes to you, is probably coming to you under duress. Usually the quarterback's not hitting the check down unless there's a blown coverage and the dude's wide open or there's pressure. And okay, I got to get it to you quick. So being where the quarterback expects you to be and being available and looking for the ball, that's huge. And he does all that. It's snap after snap after snap. He made some damaged plays look better than they should have. Now, again, like you said, he's not an explosive athlete. So like all these nice things I'm saying about him would have people, well, how is he available? The Broncos needed to create some cap space, and he's not an every down back. He's not, he's like, if you were your every down back, you're okay adjacent, but he's not a high level athlete. And he's not like an elite receiver the way like a McCaffrey is. He's not elite in space. He's solid. He's decent. He's above average. And that ability
here's ultimately what the question comes down to make it easier for the audience, considering we just watched him play through 3 preseason games. Seth, is Samaje Perine better than Deneric Prince?
Yes, and it's not even close.
Who is not back on the practice squad, interestingly.
Correct.
Yep. And then also ask me about another guy on the roster that
That's a bingo
everyone
spot.
is worried that he's gonna take this guy's snaps. Ask me if he's better than that guy.
Is he
This is
better
not going to
than
be popular.
Is he better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Yes, but that's not the one that's going to make everyone mad.
He's
Oh,
not
really?
taking Carson Steele snaps. Get out of here. Seth, we need to hold on to something. I need to hold on to hope.
We need one of these
Carson-
summer flings to last.
If Carson, let me just say it this way.
Chris
Best
Roman
case
Wallace is not
scenario.
doing it for me, man. I need a skill position player.
Best case, now, yeah, fullback doesn't.
Ethan Driscoll needs a new photo, and I need Carson Steele to get 5 carries on Thursday.
They don't have to be white, but so far they have been.
Look, that's irrelevant.
Nico Remigio, buddy, let's go.
Yeah, come on, Nico. So here's the thing with the difference between him and Carson Steele. Steele had a good preseason, might be the better runner between the two of them. He's got even more contact bounce, it seems like. Both of them kind of fall forward, but Steele's got a little bit more oomph in his power, for lack of a better term. Here's the deal with Steele. He's a rookie. You have no idea what he's going to do.
And
What year was Isaiah Pacheco in his first year, Seth?
yeah,
That's right, his rookie
How many pass
year.
protection snaps did Pacheco get that first year? They were
Pretty
like,
few.
we got to sign Jet McKinnon, guys.
I'm gonna see how many targets do you think Pacheco had as a rookie?
like 12.
You know, and that's gone up over the years.
Oh
So
yeah, he
that's
got better.
This is a
14,
niche.
pretty good, Nate.
This is a niche. I'm more comfortable with niche. I've been changing my pronunciation of that word on and off, so that's fun.
It's a Nietzsche. It doesn't matter.
In Nietzsche. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Great poll.
Thanks,
so,
guys.
The thing with Steele is it's really tough to trust him fully in pass protection situations on third down based on one preseason.
I don't have
Because
those trust issues.
Go pull up, if you're a subscriber to the Chief of North newsletter, pull that up and take a look at his pass protection rep against the Chiefs. The one that's only one of them that I actually showed. He pieces through the blitz, sees where it's coming from, gets to the opposite side of the formation, and takes out Justin Reed, and basically saves Russ Wilson's life because Spags is a
Which is
psychopath.
actually why Sean Payton cut him.
Yeah,
Right.
I told you to let that guy go by.
Actually, I think that's explicitly not true because it would have gotten more money would have gotten guaranteed. If he
Yeah,
got
no,
hurt.
no.
Correct.
Actually,
At this
Yes, correct.
point, no one
Yeah.
hurt Russ.
Samaje
Russ,
Perine saved the franchise.
Russ, will you sit? Nah. It's like, no, we're gonna just sit you. So now, to be fair, there was still pressure that play because Spags is a psychopath, and so he had Derek Nottie drop back from the nose tackle spot, and then he had Drew Tranquil blitz the A gap, and then Justin Reed blitz the B gap, and then when everyone was gone, Trent McDuffie just came screaming through, and Russ Wilson's like, "Are you serious? Like what?" What kind of psycho blitzes the inside linebacker and the safety and the slot corner? It was awesome.
And Nottie backpedals into the crosser
Yes,
over
it's
the
in
middle.
the-
It's amazing.
He
It's
does.
a great rep from Derek
It's in the
Nottie.
zone. Yeah, it's in the zone.
Zone blitzes rule because they put a nose tackle in coverage, and your only job there is I am in the anticipated
Correct
passing
spot.
lane.
Be big.
I'm
I
in
will
the correct spot.
I'm
Yeah.
big. I'm a goalie. So when you see snaps like that, Carson Steele hasn't shown he can do that.
This
at
is
the
a
pro
beautiful
level.
sport. I'm sorry. I want you to finish this point, Seth. But my
Yeah.
God, man, if you can watch this GIF and not see the love in football, you found the wrong thing.
It's an incredible thing. And Perine repeatedly knows the right spots to be. He repeatedly when Russ Wilson would change some of the protections at the line, from all appearances, it looked like he got it right. And without being in the huddle, I can't say with certainty, but he's comfortable with checks. He's comfortable diagnosing, oh, you know what, that slot corner is coming from the other side of the field. He's comfortable seeing those things, getting there, and he's strong at that point of attack. That's just tough to do your rookie year. Maybe Carson Steele can do it, but they still last year didn't always. They did sometimes, and they have more and more. But in year 2 of Isaiah Pacheco, is it year 3? Was it year 3 already last year?
This is 3.
This is 3. Okay.
This is 3.
In year 2 of Isaiah Pacheco, they still only trusted him sometimes on third down. that's just really hard to be good at. That's why Jerick McKinnon had work when he was well past his peak as a runner, couldn't really threaten much that way. And even as a pass catcher, he could get to the right spot, but he wasn't getting you much after that at that point in his career. He was just a little slower than he was, and he's never been a tackle breaker. There's really high value in that. I would be surprised. Now, I don't think it'll probably be week 1 because he's new to the roster, new to the playbook. But I mean, honestly, this is a veteran of like 7 years in the league too. I would be surprised, especially given that it's a very limited type of role where you're talking 15 snaps a game. I'd be surprised if Perine hadn't taken that role and Steele is mostly relegated to fullback type snaps. Even week 1 wouldn't shock me if that happened. And I like Carson Steele a lot. If Carson Steele holds him off and keeps that job doing the running back stuff on 3rd down, that's great news for the Chiefs because it means he beat out a genuinely good 3rd down back. And that's great news. It would just surprise me if that happened because as a rookie, those are the hardest things to do as a running back. Being a runner, you usually know within 2 or 3 carries of a guy, in his rookie year. You watch him, you're like, yep, that guy can do it. This other stuff, that's harder. And I really think he's a legitimate upgrade over what McKinnon provided last year. And again, McKinnon was good at that last year. Perine adds a little more as a runner. He's an average runner in terms of being a running back. He'll hit the hole generally. His vision isn't bad, but it's not great. But his bounce through contact helps him fall forward. So he adds a little more to that because they occasionally do have to hand him the ball, right? You can't never throw it or hand it off to him. But I'm excited by this because even though it's probably only going to be 150 snaps total, if that, maybe not even that many, he has a chance to be highly impactful for the offense. And then also allowing Pacheco to take a breather, be healthy in January.
Yeah. You might just need to go watch this, but I just wanted to highlight one other thing, which is the rep against the Dolphins that you include. I think this is my presupposition, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like there is assignment running back blocking, which is hard enough, and reading the linebacker and figuring out what your assignment is. But in this rep against the Dolphins, my computer is completely frozen over here right now, but I believe it was Christian Wilkins, not even just a defensive tackle, which is, big enough. But I believe it was Wilkins, 94, who baptizes the guard instantly. And Samaje Perine sees that happen and then gets over and cleans up that mess. And a running back hits all 300 whatever pounds of, again, I think it was Wilkins. To be able to clean up a mess that is not your responsibility is such a cool trait.
Yeah, absolutely. And Wilson gets the throw off because of that. That's the difference between a sack and the ball actually getting out. And avoiding negative plays, and I've been hammering this lately, avoiding negative plays for an offense is just as important for drive sustaining and offensive production as making big plays. If you're an offense like 2022, the Chiefs didn't have a ton of big plays. They had like maybe one a game, maybe one to MVS, maybe one to Watson, occasionally, a big run by Pacheco, something, right? They made their living by getting down the field. It's like, we will never make a bleeping mistake. We got to force them into 12 play drives. Okay. And then they just did. And they never made mistakes. And that is really tough for a defense when an opposing offense can do that to you. And he's a guy who can help you avoid those negative plays. That's just as big a contribution in terms of being a receiver and a pass protector. He kind of can help raise the floor and the ceiling by avoiding some of those negative plays. And so I'm very excited for this signing, even if it is in kind of a smaller niche of the offense, because it was the weakest position group of the offense in terms of what we knew.
2 things really quick. With Perine now on the roster, we assume.
Not on today's transaction report, by the way. Nick Jones was officially waived today. Samaje Perine is not on today's transaction report.
Fantastic.
Brett V said he's in the building with the playbook.
Jesus. Right. Good Lord. With Samaje Perine on the roster, 2 things. It does help Carson Steele, as much as we all love him. It does give Carson Steele the ability to have a more traditional rookie season, which is not putting a ton of pressure, emphasis, workload on him. So now Carson Steele can focus on being good at fullback, like Seth said, and be good to not terrible on special teams. Can you just do that? And then we'll sort of build you from there. The second thing is you're going to see this a lot in September, and this is why it's valuable to have arguably one of the greatest coaching minds and the greatest quarterback on earth today. But it helps to not have a rookie see an unscouted look. And you're going to see unscouted look after unscouted look after unscouted look because these defenses are going to try to throw different pitches at the Chiefs, especially in the first month. So having someone who is a 7-year veteran, who has been in multiple offenses, who can communicate with the quarterback, obviously, as Josh says, is capable of picking up something that is not technically what you're supposed to do. That could be both unscouted in the application or in the, oh my God, how did he get through the offensive line that quickly? So that way it doesn't put a ton of pressure and workload on your primary runner in Isaiah Pacheco and the rookie that you've really, really developed very quickly, but you do not want to put him, you don't want to put him in the fire just yet to that degree, just because he's a rookie and he's never played, NFL football games. As Seth said earlier, it took Pacheco about 8 games in the NFL his rookie season to get comfortable and to start flashing his actual talent. I don't know how long it'll take Carson Steele to do that, but Samaje Perine helps mitigate that, doing it sooner rather than later.
It does solve something we've been talking about for a very long time, and I think we can all agree that. Speaking of good causes to get behind, let me tell you, folks, about the KCSN pre-golf tournament benefit raffle. You can check it out on the KCSN Foundation Twitter account. You can see it on the KCSN Twitter. I think most of us have retweeted it at some point. Here's what you can do. If you're not going to be able to make it to the golf tournament, or if you just want to do this in addition to the golf tournament, where I believe you'll be able to see both myself and one Nate Taylor, you can go ahead and support the cause by buying raffle tickets that can enter you to win a Patrick Mahomes signed mini helmet, 2 tickets to any Chiefs home game, and you can do that 5 tickets for $20, 15 tickets for $40, or 40 tickets for $100. You do not have to be present to win. All you got to do is Venmo that to @KC Sports Network. Again, that's Venmo, KC Sports Network, or givebutter.com. That's givebutter, like the dairy product, .com/KCSN Golf. You can see the details there. Uh-oh, Tucker, what did I do?
No, I have breaking news on the KCSN pre-tournament benefit raffle.
Tell me about it.
News includes the package for the 2 tickets to any Chiefs home game. That also includes a 1-night stay at the Westin Kansas City. Great hotel, great sheets, great beds. So not only do you get 2 tickets to any Chiefs home game that you want, you also get a 1-night stay at the Westin Kansas City. Needed to pop in there, let you guys know that it's quite the package now. Even if you're not in Kansas City, you have got a chance to win 2 tickets to a Chiefs game.
A great way to support the KCSN Foundation, no matter where you're from. Again, givebutter.com/KCSN Golf. Seth, are you going to make it to the golf tournament as of right now?
I do not.
Let's take a break. Thank you.
Oh.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
I even told you we were going to take a break. I knew your Midwestern guilt would get you there, and you would just start genuinely apologizing, and then we'd get there. Let's talk about the practice squad really quick, since we had most of the roster on Tuesday and then nothing else following that. Some really interesting choices on either side of the cut down line here. I'll just read you the guys who are on the practice squad, and then a couple names that you may realize you had missed. Also, Brett Veach didn't mention Bailey Zappi today. He wasn't asked about it. Understandably, there are a few more important players, but you will notice no Chris Oladokun on this practice squad, and Bailey Zappi reportedly on the way to Kansas City. We can circle back on that, Nate. But here's who the Chiefs have announced to this point. Running back Amani Bailey, linebacker Swayze Bozeman, safety Dion Bush, linebacker Cole Christensen, tight end Baylor Cupp, defensive tackles Matt Dickerson and Neil Farrell, running back Keontae Ingram, defensive end Truman Jones, defensive tackle Fabian Lovett, offensive tackle Lucas Niang, wide receivers Nico Remigio and Justin Ross and Montrell Washington, and cornerback Keith Taylor. We'd assume that Nick Jones will be back on the practice squad as well if he's not claimed. He was on the 53 20 minutes ago, but also interestingly, not literally 20 minutes ago, also interestingly, the Chiefs did make 3 waiver claims on cornerbacks in the initial round of waiver cuts. All of that in a big ball of content. Oh, let me mention also here. So no Chris Oladokun. Chu Godric obviously is I don't think I said his name. He's the IPP player. Kamal Haddon, 6th round pick, rookie, not even back on the practice squad. That appears to be a one and done miss there. Louis Rees-Zammit, we have covered. Deneric Prince, after his second offseason, absent from the practice squad. Cornell Powell, no longer on the practice squad. I think those were the big ones, though. Nate, dealer's choice. Take your pick.
Cornell Bell could come back sometime during the regular season if he has not joined a team by then. This tells you that obviously the Chiefs are still in the midst of a youth movement, trying to get younger players so that they can obviously develop them. Now, as of right now, there's 16 players on the practice squad. Is that correct, Josh?
I believe that, yes. I believe there are 16, including Godric.
Yeah, so Godric is technically the exception, the 17th.
He's the 17th. No matter what, he's kind of the 17th.
So Zappy Bailey, I think more so than Nick Jones, because given the league's,
I like calling him Zappy Bailey, by the way. That's not going to stop. That's going to stick.
Zappy. So because of the third quarterback exemption rule, you can't necessarily carry him on the 53, but he could obviously be of use if necessary. I don't know where Nick Jones is in this formula as of right now, in this sort of roster math equation, because, the most important guys on the practice squad, from my understanding, are all defensive guys. So you wouldn't necessarily want to put any of them in jeopardy. And so does that mean that you would need either, I'm guessing here, this is not like, this is educational guesses, I guess I should say, but like Keontae Ingram, maybe Monty Bailey, who knows? Would you sort of remove one of those for Nick Jones? I'm not sure. But you could also give Nick Jones a couple weeks just because you did make a claim, and that waiver claim did come through, obviously, on the defensive side. So, again, the most important players on practice squad, in my opinion, Matt Dickerson, who's played NFL snaps, Neil Farrell, who you traded for last year, and even someone like Fabian Lovett. I know he didn't get a ton of chatter during the preseason, but I thought he had a pretty good training camp. Of course, Deion Bush, AFC Championship hero, he'll be in the mix. And then Cole Christensen is someone who could also play special teams and be of need if you have an injury to the linebacker position. Everybody on offense from the practice squad, in my opinion, is kind of, they're there. But this is a credit to what Seth has said even before we started the show. The Chiefs' offense in 2024 is much better than the offense in 2023, at least on paper, with a healthy Hollywood Brown. So the Chiefs have protected themselves, I think, mostly on a defensive standpoint with the practice squad, more so than offense. And that obviously involves having the 17th player be on offense so that you can keep another player on defense.
I didn't mention Irv Smith, not necessarily super surprising given the trade, and they kept Kupp on the practice squad over Irv Smith. And I just will mention before the chat comes for all of us, I think your point stands, Nate, even with 3 receivers, because 2 of those receivers are there for their special teams ability as of right now. Like Nico Remigio and Montreal Washington might matter this year, but it would be if McCole Hardman is hurt or if they need to shake things up in the return game for some other reason. So, Seth, any of those names strike you one way or the other? We have to assume that they're going to carry a third quarterback, both for the emergency situation. Andy Reid always has kind of a developmental third guy, scout team stuff. Yeah. And I know Carson Wentz talked about, getting used to doing some scout team things. I think maybe even late last year when he joined the Chiefs, he talked about that some. I have to imagine you'd rather have Bailey Zappi or Chris Oladokun running that most of the time, but I don't know. You're at those practices, Nate, and I'm not. Anything there either make you excited to see the guys make the cut or interesting that they didn't to you, Seth?
Honestly, it all kind of rolled out pretty much what I expected. And that's not like a pat on the back to me. Yeah. It's just my long way of saying, this sounds so bad, but it's not particularly interesting to me because it's what I expected.
Well,
And
and
so
so
that-
hey Seth, I'll do the thing where I make you sound more likable. This is a this is a 70-man roster, 53 plus the 17.
Yes, correct.
There was a little bit of debate about players 50 to 75. Those guys had a chance to shuffle some, right? But maybe we definitely could have had 45 players on the roster penciled or pinned in before training camp began. You know what I mean?
I would honestly say 48 were kind of pinned
Yeah,
in.
I think I almost said 50, and I'm trying to think like there were at least 3 to 5 kind of surprises or training camp stories that mattered.
Yeah.
But to Seth's very humble point, it makes sense that these would be about the guys you'd bring back, aside from the few that I mentioned.
If anything, I think the most surprising thing, or maybe not surprising, is that they made a couple of trades and a free agency signing that look like active roster type guys. So that's somewhat surprising in late
That's
August.
true. We would not have had them on the roster in April.
And so, but like, what I mean, like, so I think you do see that some of the plans haven't, but with getting those guys, some of their plans coming into training camp haven't panned out, right? I don't think you trade even a whatever it was for Hendershot. You know, it was like a conditional 20th round pick in 2058.
In the 2058 NBA draft, which was a weird
Yeah,
condition.
just like they assume Kansas City will have a team by then. It's like, probably. And they didn't trade much for Cam Thomas either, who has actually a pretty decent shot, I think, of seeing 15 to 20 snaps a game fairly quickly.
Brett Veach said today he didn't feel like they had 5 defensive ends and they wanted 5 defensive ends.
They didn't. If you're not gonna play,
I'm not sure they had 4.
Charles Omenihu, because Charles Omenihu was on the physically unable to perform list.
Well, and I would argue that not only do they not have no, we can't do this again.
I already said I'm not sure they had 4. So I got cover fire for you. Go ahead.
I am not sure.
You sure they have 3?
Like Malik Herring is their
they just
third
had 2,
guy
huh?
right now.
Yeah.
And Malik Herring, I mean, he's you can play him a few snaps, but I mean, it says something that last year when Omenihu got healthy, Malik Herring didn't play any snaps.
Right.
I mean, this is not. There's an argument to be made. They have 2 average or above defensive ends on the roster right now.
They have 2 that they voluntarily played last year.
Yes, that's a great way of saying it. Thank you. See, Josh makes Seth likable.
That's
It'll
what
be
I'm
on the
here
bingo
for.
card next year.
Hey,
And
hey,
Cam
Tershon.
Thomas.
Hey, Tershon Ward, we're gonna need some great snaps from you in the 3 tech because Chris Jones will be playing on the edge against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, we've seen that before, but
we've
it's
seen that
different.
play.
It's different this time.
And I
It's gonna be
didn't like the
different.
ending. So I do think we've seen that film before, and we did not like the ending. That's one of the only songs I know.
Yeah, wow, great poll.
No, thank you. I really like a good duet. You know, it's remember when Alicia Keys and Usher did "If I Ain't Got You Together"? I was like, you know what? That's really pretty.
That's I think to this point. I'm playing a music game with a bunch of friends as we submit songs to each other. You vote on them. It's very fun. Free ad for Music League on the App Store. It's a good time. But we did a duets round, and that was the song I submitted because I think it's a very underrated Taylor Swift song that, frankly, in my opinion, is more like a Bon Iver song featuring Taylor Swift, which isn't disrespect. It's just it really feels like a Bon Iver track.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
But it's great regardless. Good take. Wow, Seth, just a shockingly good Taylor Swift Bon Iver take from you today. I'm not surprised you'd have a good take. I'm surprised that you had that one in the Rolodex.
I usually pull out a good take on very unrelated topics to that.
It's usually Samaje Perine.
So Primetime Rambo asks for $4.99. Thank you. Quote, I don't understand keeping Matt Dickerson. Yes, he plays snaps, but were they good snaps?
That is an excellent question.
Hey. Under Steve Spagnuolo in 12 games last season, 15 tackles, 7 solo, 8 assisted, 1 tackle for loss, no quarterback hits, no interceptions, no forced fumbles, no no pass breakups, no fumble recoveries.
And Matt Dickerson was another individual who, when they tightened up that defensive line rotation, because when Semenahu came in, then Jones was playing inside a little more. And then when Jones would rotate outside, Semenahu would rotate inside because he's very good from the 3-tech.
Yep.
I mean, they tightened up that rotation. The Cam Thomas trade, I hope they can get league average 15 to 20 league average snaps out of him a game. If they can do that, I will breathe a lot easier. But we already did this last week. But right now they have 2 average defensive ends on the roster right now, unless Cam Thomas is an average defensive end.
You know what? Well, you know what Cam Thomas doesn't have? Post-game experience. Okay, I'm looking it up here. Matt Dickerson has appeared in 5 postseason games, producing 2 tackles.
Yeah.
And 1 quarterback hit.
Did Jones chase him into him?
He's 28.
You know what? I'm gonna look up that snap at some point, and I would be willing to bet. Now, again,
NFL Plus. I'm gonna do it now.
So anyway, I do think it's good of Brett to basically just say we do not have 5 defensive ends, and I love that none of you were like, "Do you have 2? Do you have 3?" Because we know they have 2. Karlaftis and Dana, nice.
They have 3. There's a world in which Felix has productive snaps. There's that world exists.
Is it this one?
It could happen.
You've been watching the MCU lately?
Yeah, Nate. I know lately.
Like
Nate
the
loves
Deadpool
Spider-Verse.
and Wolverine.
Come
world?
on, I was there.
Is this
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I was there in week 2 when he played
Universe
well
where
against
Nick
the
Cage is
Jacksonville
Spider-Man.
Jaguars. Okay, I was there week 1 when he produced some pressure on Jared Goff. I was there. It could happen.
It could happen. You know what? You're right. It could happen.
There's an angel in the outfield. It could happen.
Do you guys like some NFL news? Just this long national nightmare is over. Brandon Ayuk is signing a 4-year extension to keep him in San Francisco.
Oh,
wow! The legend of Ricky
Finally
dies.
over. Oh, Ricky had him to Pittsburgh for a while.
Oh,
there,
yeah.
right?
I was like, it's
true.
done. Although it was kind of interesting, some of the reporting that was done post ad hoc was like, the Steelers thought a deal was done, is kind of how I read between the lines there. So it kind of lets you know, like, oh, your source was in Pittsburgh, if he's sourced and not just guessing incredibly well.
Well,
but that is...
Oh, Ricky did tweet earlier he was back with San Francisco. Tucker is here to defend Ricky's honor. Along those lines, just from the fact that I saw Ian Rappaport take, not an exaggeration, 4 separate swings at getting this information out properly. Seth, put on your hat. Nate, put on your lawyer hat. Every hat's a lawyer hat for Seth. Rashee Rice is not going on the commissioner's exempt list before the season, something we assumed, but we got a report from Mark Maskey last night that was kind of going that direction. Today there was a conference call and the NFL said some things, and then the NFL PR guy was like, that's not exactly what we said, here's this, and Rappaport had 2 tweets in a row with typos in them, and it just has never been easy. Not a single damn thing about this has been easy, convenient, well done at any level, but Nate, it really seems like, to the best of my understanding, the NFL has said we are not touching the Rashee Rice case until there is a criminal setup and knockdown. As Seth has mentioned before, there is not a publicly known criminal trial date at this point.
Or case.
Or thank you, Seth. There's not a criminal case currently established at this point. There were 8 felony charges right out of the gate and then nothing since. Nate, You're not a lawyer. You're just a simple country sports reporter, and then we'll get our simple northern lawyer, and then I'll just be a simple show host. What the hell is going on? What do you think you know right now on Rashee Rice, Nate?
The phrase that I was told during training camp, and the phrase that remains to be most prominent is let the legal process play out. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us, the legal process is lost yet again. We've lost the legal process. The legal process is not played out. We don't need to go through this anymore. I don't want to hear any questions. The fact that the NFL was asked if Rasheed Rice was going to go on the commissioner's list, I was like, did he murder someone yesterday? Like, what are we talking about? Like, it has to be the most unusual situations, and obviously this does not involve, once again, does not involve domestic violence, which is really
or
why
violence of any sort. It
Correct.
involves stupidity. Okay.
Well, actually,
vehicular violence.
technically, it
violent
is
thing
violent.
happens
Yeah.
to victims. I know it's not.
Technically, I mean, I'll read it again. I mean, sure. Regarding the incident, as denoted in the player collective bargaining agreement with the league, where they give Roger Goodell, for some reason, all the power, essentially, conduct that poses a genuine danger to the safety and well-being of another person. If you violate that, you are violating the personal conduct policy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, with a vehicle at non-speed limit speeds that created a multi-car crash, in layman's terms, is a violation of, quote, conduct that poses a genuine danger to the safety and well-being of another person.
It's dangerous conduct, but it's not violent conduct. And you know, people might get mad at me for, like, you know, lawyering a thing that.
Yes.
But I'm not
Literally
going to,
what you're here for. No one's mad at you for lawyering. This is
I'm not going to treat.
lawyer.
I'm not going to treat a non-ill intent crime the same way as I would treat an ill intent crime. It's just not the same thing. You know, he would have done less damage to someone if he'd. Oh man, how dark do I want to get here? Not too dark.
Less. I'd say less. I'd say go ahead and dial it back. I'd say
I would say
we've done this topic since Easter, and it's just crazy that this is where we're at. We talked about our thoughts on it pretty fully on Tuesday.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. We've sussed this out. No one wants to listen to me suss that out one more time.
Let me read the policy one more time. Quote:
if I beg you not to, will you not?
Nope. An NFL player and or employee, quote, are held to a higher standard and must conduct themselves in a way that is responsible, promotes the values of the NFL, and is lawful. Is 8 felony counts lawful?
Has he been charged with 8 felony counts?
He confessed to speeding at 119 miles an hour and causing that damage. Like, again,
he did.
I don't want you, Seth, to feel like you have to try to keep him from jail time now that we have put you in that chair. But as we went over on Tuesday, the NFL choosing this as an opt-out from having to actually make their own judgment it still is outrageous to me. Because we have plenty of information for you, Roger Goodell, to make this judgment. But Seth, go ahead. What would you anytime we don't talk about this, we've just been talking about a bingo card. So I'm gonna remind you both of that.
Hold on. Just for clarity and factual, the representation of the facts accurately, Rasheed Rice, if people need to be reminded, in April was facing 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of collision involving
He's not
seriously
facing them. He got booked
injury.
on them. There's a difference.
Look, man.
Tell Texas.
Look, what do you like? Apparently, again, as we know right now, that investigation is still ongoing. No, I mean, 6 counts of collision involving an injury.
Did Justin Ross ever get charged? I was in season, obviously, so like there are differences, but I don't know.
I think he got charged, and then he entered a agreement via court division, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yes,
and yeah, they agreed to diversion. I it's he deserves to be punished, and he deserves to be held accountable, and he deserves to
play football on opening night where Chris Collinsworth asks yet again, why is he on the field?
Sure, why not? Well, and what I'm really going to enjoy is literally all of us pretending that we've never driven a vehicle 100 miles an hour.
No,
Because-
never.
because
I don't
no,
think
You
I've
think
owned
I'm
a car that
Batman?
can drive 100 miles an hour.
But like, and really, what ends up happening? This is actually somewhat of a
Not
What
in
an
the,
interesting
not in the
pivot
bright
for me
daylight. I'm
is that the-
Batman. What do you mean?
is that the law is written in a way that punishes similar conduct differently with bad luck.
Yeah,
I
but the
don't-
NFL's not the law, though. I'm not
Right,
interested in
and-
talking about the law anymore.
Right. And that's where I think the NFL is trying to figure out what to do, because the law does that. And I get, harm caused should matter, but it's one of those things where, the idea is if we had just heard Rashee Rice was given a speeding ticket for driving 120 miles an hour in a 60, we would have condemned it. We would have said that's you can't do that. Don't
In
be
the
an idiot,
broad
which is
daylight.
all correct. But there was a crash. The difference between the two, luck. Blind, stupid luck. And hopefully, again, and I said this in the
There's
past.
also a
I don't
difference
know
of
why I'm
luck
wasting
between
time.
like this and Henry Ruggs. Like this is the middle luck
Yeah.
path. I don't
And
know
then
what
like
we're
with
really
Ruggs,
getting.
the difference being that Ruggs was under the influence.
Bruce
Which-
Wayne has donated to the families of more than $1 million. I wonder why that happened.
What? I literally can't
Don't.
understand
It
what
doesn't.
you're saying.
Everyone else is following. It's okay.
And so the difference between him and Ruggs, someone choosing to drive under the influence, that hits a complete another level entirely. But the reality is he'll be playing week
There
one.
was no breathalyzer
I would love it
'cause I
if they
wasn't
would
there.
just get over.
He
get
fled
it
the
over with.
scene too. That is another great point that Nate
There
has
was no
referred to.
breathalyzer. Batman doesn't breathe.
Well, I know that you guys are really in favor of a criminal justice system that presumes guilt.
The NFL's
me,
not a criminal
I
justice
am
system,
the
Seth.
one
Your
that's
your
just
only
really-
self-defense
You wouldn't
mechanism
say
of
that
not
if you
engaging in good faith is not helpful here.
You wouldn't say that if you weren't high on methamphetamine right
Vigilantes.
this second. I've
That's
decided
exactly right. You should ask how much methamphetamine I had. It was what you should have done.
These vigilantes need to be
We've litigated
pursued
the
and
actual
hunted down.
literal legal process of this 100 times.
We have.
And the NFL has gone through this process 100 times. The info today is that they're not interested in being an extrajudicial branch of government this time,
Yeah,
which
this
is
time.
a choice they're making this time. That's
Batman
the point.
sees
here.
that signal and decides to eat pizza rolls instead.
God, Tucker, I hope to God you pulled up the bingo card. Just cover all of our faces, or at least cover mine. Let's look at this. This is great work. This is great work, Tucker. The unmatched Randy Gisarelli has done it again, but this time we have a video form to share it with you in. The 2024 Only Weird Games bingo card is here. I don't think we ought to just read the entire bingo card here at this point. We have all tweeted it. You can see it on Randy's account, which is at Gisarelli, Jazayerli. Three of us have all retweeted it. I'm guessing we could probably get the KCSN account to tweet it out there again also. But this is the bingo card. Seth, I'll start with you since you're probably fuming, but I can't see your face. What is your favorite square on this year's bingo card?
I really like the bottom right. Seth's marriage to Jazz is the bestest, most perfect marriage ever. We get it. Please stop rubbing it in. Just shut up already.
That's fun.
I
My
enjoyed
favorite's
that.
the top right, which is Seth describes a weird cuckolding fantasy involving Hugh Jackman.
I really appreciate that once again. I am the four corners.
Yeah.
Yep.
This
Jazz is 2.5 of them as well.
yeah, she didn't quite make the cut. You know how it goes. Marriages have ebbs and flows. And
Not yours, because it's the bestest, most perfect marriage ever.
a husband's
A loving
ability to
marriage,
bring
you
up
could
his
say.
wife. Yeah, the husband's ability to bring up his wife ebbs and flows. I do love a close second for me, and maybe even first when I really think about it. I just love that within the confines of a loving marriage made the cut. That makes me so happy.
That makes sense. Nate, what's your standout here?
Bo Penix.
God dang it.
I also appreciate
What
that
his name
Randy.
looks like.
Nate starts a sentence by saying, "Ask me"
Ask
already
me.
happened today. I don't think Seth read something that Seth wrote today.
Now
Again, I
look,
don't wanna
Nate
just-
Look,
Nate
we're
hasn't
not
brought up cocaine for no reason.
because we're not in the regular season just
Yeah.
yet. And I haven't
Not-
gotten red zone.
We definitely Louis Rees-Zammit being a very, very handsome man. That one's
for
going to keep
sure.
coming up even when he's not on the
Gorgeous.
team. Same for me not quitting Kadarius Toney. As soon as Kadarius Toney signs with the Bills or something, I'm going to pick him up in my fantasy league. So I will still make sure that's true. Seth thinks Charles Omenihu is a wuss. That one we have already covered once.
Yep.
That's not...
I really appreciate the Randy including Tucker in this. The D in
Yes.
Tucker D Franklin stands
Yes.
for dominance.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, look, this is guys, we've made it. If Randy wants to do this, that tells you the show has some redundancies, and that's okay. We're just
it's too good. Like that, he has such a masterful understanding. Tucker, can I get one more time? I wanted to. I know we're in an hour and 5 minutes. There were two more just there that really did tickle me. Is Mark Donovan one of the core guys? Is so funny.
The core 9.
It's so
Core
funny.
10, they got Creed to that extension.
Core 10, we got Creed.
We're running out of spots in the lineup. And then personally, I got great validation out of Nate/Seth will join the show in progress, parentheses, they don't.
Hey man, it's hard being a writer sometimes, man. It's hard being a reporter.
I didn't
You
even
gonna call
see
me
that
back?
one.
No, ever.
We of course hit the middle square because I have an unbelievable blind spot to being just got. So that's fun.
Yeah, well, we haven't started the regular season yet, so I have not gone back to my cocaine dealer, and I haven't been on the
Scott
road.
Hansen will be there.
Yeah, right. I mean, obviously his name's Scott Hansen, and he goes quad box, and I start sniffing, kids.
Oh, we do get it week 1. Thursday night's gonna be another bleeper, but God, that first Sunday's gonna be so
Octo,
nice.
give me an octo box.
Octo
That's almost
box.
Odin in football terms. It's the nearest you can get to overdosing. Now look,
The when it hits about 2:55 on that first Sunday. Oh, that's gonna be those really are, because it just comes one after another, and you're just sitting there just like everything is amazing right now.
The colors, they're coloring. They're popping off the.
Well, I mean, just because it's everything. We've got a 2-minute drive to try to tie the game. We've got a 1-minute drive to try to win the game. It's a 4th and 7. And it's just all at
Some
once.
guy's ankle snapped off. Forget it. Next game. And you're like, what about him? What about his family? We don't care. We're in the red zone in Carolina.
Here in Minnesota?
Carolina's in the red zone. They stink. Oh no, it's actually whatever. Who does Carolina play? You know what? The red zone is perfect for Steelers Falcons week 1. Russell Wilson did blank.
We go live here to Minnesota, a scary scene where the ambulance has actually come out onto the field. The player has been loaded onto the backboard. And we take you now to Atlanta for Kirk Cousins' first touchdown to Kyle Pitts.
Woo!
Just kidding. That won't happen in week 1.
That won't happen. No,
That's not gonna happen.
But it is like, hey, is he okay? Never found out. So,
Good luck. You hope you find out on Monday, but you're not going to find out before Sunday Night Football.
It really is or would you like to see me sock some dingers? And that's just,
hey man,
that's the world, man. Would you rather, you know what? I would rather see you sock some dingers.
Some dingers. So, lastly, I know we haven't mentioned this yet. Again, because we're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. But we're not in season yet. There's a couple weeks before the first road regular season game. I think is it 8 or 9 road games this year? I can't remember.
One game at a time for me, man. I don't know.
But I got to keep a clean sheet, which is Nate's bed made? So look, I know I got a long season ahead of me, and you know what? I'm gonna tell those lovely people in those hotels. Don't worry, I got it, because Andy Reid needs to see my bed perfectly remade on a Zoom call.
On that note, we are now 7 days and about an hour as we finish this show live today, away from the actual kickoff of the 2024 NFL season. We will be back on Tuesday to actually talk about the Baltimore Ravens.
I guess.
Which is,
man.
I don't I'm super ready for the offseason to be over. I don't know if I'm ready for week 1 to be 7 days away. We'll be back on Tuesday, and then we're going to be off until Friday to recap the first game then. We'll have plenty to talk about. We will have Chiefs pressers happening by then. We will have hopefully some injury updates and a little bit of a look ahead to what these new look Ravens may bring. So with over an hour and 10 minutes in the book, a fresh bingo card, and plenty of mourning the loss of a friend, Nate, go ahead and get us out of here. We'll remember you, Lewis.
Summer love.
I will. I thought that was. I thought that was mine. No, sorry. I thought that. Never mind.
No, I mean it's summer love's a real thing, you know. But when they move on, you just let them. You gotta let them flap their wings. If they come back, I don't know. In the 2025 offseason, I'm not saying I'm not gonna pick up that phone call, but there's always a hope. Sometimes summer love needs to be remembered because there's always spring love. And hold on, maybe next spring. I'm just saying. Lewis, can I get one more hug, my guy? I mean, come on, man. We had a great time.